So I've been going to therapy for the past 3 weeks, and it's given me a lot to think about. Namely, that I I really do think that my life, in a sense, is sort of complete. I it sounds weird to say this, but I've I remember a long time ago I heard the phrase the Zen of non-attachment, and I I don't I'm not Buddhist or whatever, so I don't have any idea of like what that idea originally means or whatever. I've never studied like Eastern Buddhism or whatever. So I'm just creating my own version of that saying, but what it means to me is to basically lose any sort of attachment to material desires or any sort of things that I've been conditioned to hope or dream for. This is something that I've kind of talked about on the channel, but it's something I've also been talking about in therapy. In my early adult years, I was very clinging and hopeful onto the idea of having a family, and getting my own place to live, having a children, stuff like that. Basically the American dream. But ever since that's been, pulled away from me, ever since I've had the ladder uh, dragged up, pulled up beneath me, um, I've, it took a very long time, but I've just had to let it go. And it's not, I want to be, selective with my words here. It's not that I'm happy with what's been going on. Far from it, obviously. But I just accept the situation for what it is and I try to move on with it. Obviously, there's a lot of Gen Z that's not happy with the current circumstances that we're facing. I'm not happy either. This is also part of the reason why I'm in therapy right now. But over the time, as I've come to accept that I'm 29 years old, I work a minimum wage job, I'm trying to at least get a better job. I know that I'm going to stay single probably for the rest of my life, and I'm just trying to, as Aaron Clary would say, enjoy the decline. I find myself just trying to find what little beauty there is left in this world. And it can be very hard to be thankful for the small things. It can be very, very difficult to find joy in the small things that nature, that the world, that people, that community offers you, especially if there's not much left to offer. But I sort of had this idea about my own life where, okay, I don't really have much left to pursue anymore, okay? I'm not gonna, have that typical American dream, of conquest or being able to, have my own home or whatever and set up my own docile, if that makes sense. It's just gone, okay? And I've been a loser for like a very long time, and what helped me so much during my early years was the fact that I had other losers that were a part of my life, and we sort of had our own loser community. But the pain that I'm going through is the fact that I'm all alone, and I really don't have anyone else to comfort me or to provide solace. And so this is where I think a change needs to be made. It's up to me now to take the suffering that I've been enduring for a very long time and to use that as a way to relate with other people. Because I know I'm not the only one that's suffering right now. I know I'm not the only one that's going through uh, a very intense form of loneliness. I know I'm not the only one that's been researching the male loneliness crisis. I know I'm not the only one that wants some type of community for people like myself. But what I've been very absent minded in is trying to form community or outreach. I can't say I know why that is, but I know ultimately that there are a lot of people that are in need of compassion and empathy because they're deprived of it. Something I also want to talk about is our lack of empathy and compassion. And this is something that you would think that people in the BP and the incel space would want to talk about. Because obviously a lot of people in this space are in a very bad position in life. I don't like the term useless eaters. I don't like the fact that a lot of them are being made fun of. I don't like the fact that a lot of them are treated as less than human. I don't like the fact that a lot of people say that they deserve it because of their looks or because of their behavior. So I was having a conversation with someone actually earlier this morning, and this person came to the conclusion that because of some of these people's behavior, that they are not deserving of empathy because their behavior is toxic, because their behavior, leads to harassment, because people within this space can, do bad things. Sure, that's all very well true. I'm not going to disagree. My way of thinking is to see the whole of the person, the entirety of the person. So I don't box people into categories, or simple words or phrases. I look at the nature, I look at the parents, I look at the genes, I look at the environment, and once I try and get to know the person, and that's how I sort of get to the idea of like, okay, this is how this person got here, and that helps shape uh, my perception of that person before I can make a value judgment. And even then, I try to be very considerate of the judgments I make of that person and their lifestyle choices and behaviors. I'm not saying people are free to do whatever they want without consequence, and that everything is determined by genes or that everything is determined by environment at the end of the day. That's wrong. People do have agency. But I do think that if you start to develop a love for humanity, if you start to see everyone, every person, as if they were your brother or sister, that you would begin to treat people in a way and talk to them in a way and to begin to see them in a way that they deserve to be seen. And in turn, you would also receive that love. You would also receive that empathy and compassion that you are missing in your life. Now, you shouldn't change your behavior. You shouldn't just become a compassionate person just so you can receive compassion. You should be a loving, compassionate, empathetic person just for the sake of doing so, because it's the right thing to do. But this person I was having this little debate with, they made the point that the people within the BP, the incels, they display enough bad behaviors, enough bad signs within their behaviors that it should be sort of a red flag, is what they were getting at. That you should cut these people off from your life. And I don't really like that attitude. I don't really, that doesn't sit well with me. I know some people might be listening to what I'm saying and might be mistaken into believing that I have some sort of toxic empathy. No, I don't. I do believe that, people with very negative traits, very narcissistic traits, very dangerous traits, should, be judged righteously, that they should be um, punished deservedly so, and that if these people truly are a danger, that they deserve the punishments that definitely should come. But I also do believe that systems create people, that systems create monsters, that systems create victims, that systems create the poor. But therapy has been very helpful. It's interesting talking to someone that doesn't quite know the internet space. Just, to give an idea, she's my mom's age, so I had to explain to her, what Discord was. I don't get way too personal with some of my problems, but she's very sweet. This is through a Catholic service, so we're both religious, when she opens the session up with prayer. But I've, I've been able to just talk about things that I haven't been able to, and it's actually in a way relieving that I have someone to just sort of be myself with in a non-judgmental environment. And also, in a sense, it's also relieving because she's so she has no idea, what the word incel means. Not that I've used it with her, but you get what I mean. Um, because I can just, flatly discuss a number of these issues, a number of my personal childhood issues, and she just sort of gets it, and I can put it in my own terms, in my own words, and she'll just accept what I'm talking about, for what it is. I feel like in a sense, like if you want to be a part of the BP, it's almost like you're sort of forced to use BP vocabulary. It's kind of weird, but that's just sort of the impression that I get. Obviously, I'm still under the impression that going to therapy probably won't help my material conditions, obviously, but it is sort of a relief to just talk to someone that's normal. Unfortunately, talking to a lot of people within this space, you're gonna run across a lot of very mentally unwell people, a lot of narcissists, a lot of people that are just not there for you, a lot of people that just don't care about you, a lot of people that don't have any actual interest in forming a community, which is a major problem because not naming any names, but you're gonna have a lot of people within the BP that really are just in it for themselves, and they do view other people as beneath them, which is a shame. When I came in here, I genuinely did think that people were letting their voice out into the wild, because they wanted to be heard and because they wanted to let others know that they wanted to form a type of brotherhood or because they wanted to have a type of community. And it's a shame because I don't think that that's the case from my own experiences within the BP. I think for the most part, you got people that want to be kings. You got people that want to be king of the hill. You got people that want to be their own sort of that want to form their own echo chambers. You got people that want to be their own leaders for some reason within this space, and it's obviously really weird, but at the same time, it's I mean. You've got people that just want power, yeah, and they'll get power, however they want to, even if it's within a space as strange and weird as this or whatever. I don't know. I can't explain it. I really can't explain it. But I've been trying to be more social. I went to a, Super Bowl party. Not that I really did a lot of talking there, but I brought some cards and I just met up with some people that were acquaintances. I didn't stay long. I only stayed for an hour, but it was all right. I didn't watch the game. I wasn't trying to get to really do anything there. But I'm making progress. It's very small, baby steps, but it's better than I guess rotting alone in my room. One thing I still have to navigate though when it comes to the advice of just go outside or touch grass is the fact that I'm the outsider. I'm the different one when it comes to all these groups of people. In the case of the Super Bowl party, I met a person that I'll call Joe. But he's a very average guy. Probably in his 30s. I didn't ask him how old he was, but he's an engineer. He has a very big family, so he's got like I want to say 3 or 4 kids, 5 kids maybe. A very lovely wife. And I'm looking at myself, and I can't relate with this guy on too many normal everyday things. I could talk to him about politics. I can talk to him just fine about some other things. Like when it comes to local community or whatever. But I I mean, what is there for me? When it comes to relating with him, I can't really offer him much. I can't really offer him much in the way of relatability, or in terms of like networking or friendship or whatever, because I'm not look, it's just very simple. I'm just the outsider. I'm the one that's still living with his parents. I'm still the one working minimum wage. I don't have much to offer. That's still going to be a challenge for a lot of us in the BP is we're still going to be gaslit with the same garbage advice of just touch grass or just do this or why don't you just fix your appearance? Why don't you just hit the gym? Blah blah blah, right? As if we haven't thought about that before or as if we haven't tried that before. And I have tried those things, and some days, I do think about trying those things again, and maybe it'll be different. But we all know the definition of insanity. But anyways, I just thought I'd let you guys catch up on what I've been doing and how I have been. Um, but I am doing a lot better. I'm not as depressed as I was. I am able to enjoy my hobbies. I am able to, play some games. I am able to, draw and paint, stuff like that, and able to talk to people, without feeling like I'm in a constant state of despair. So, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, and if you want, my Discord's in the description, and it's also in my channel profile. So just let me know and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.